I had originally intended to make a podcast episode. However, over the last 2 weeks since my last episode, I really haven't had much going on with my knitting. I've primarily just been working on 2 projects, so for me that's pretty monogamous. I have a sock going and then a cardigan, so those have been my primary focuses. I don't have any finished objects, so I figured why not film a knit and chat. Grab a coffee, a tea, grab something to knit, and let's get into it. Today is Sunday. It's a very dreary day here. It's misty and raining and very humid. And yeah, I'm just so grateful to be having a slow day. This week at work has been so busy, and I worked Monday through Saturday, and just it's been so crazy. So just having this day to be slow and be still and just work on my craft that brings me lots of joy has been so wonderful. So yeah, I figured I'll chat about what I'm currently primarily working on and how this even came to be and what inspired it, and kind of just what's been inspiring me this season when it comes to my craft of knitting. Alright, so let me just share about what I'm working on in today's video. This is a cardigan. It's called the Amber Cardigan, and it's by Mohair, I think is how the name is pronounced. It's also, the designer is also known as Cocoamourknitwear. I've never knit anything by this designer, but I'm very much enjoying it. It's been a very simple and extremely easy pattern to knit up. I'll try to include some b-roll of the pattern more up close for you. But essentially it's just a v-neck cardigan with short sleeves. So I'm about halfway through the body. I'll show you the back. About halfway through the body right now. And let me talk about the yarn I'm using. So I'm actually almost out of these 2 skeins, but I'm using 2 skeins held together, and I have them in hank form, which I'll show you. They are so beautiful next to one another. So the yarn that I'm using is 2 different yarns by La Bien-Aimee. I have their Cashmerino base in the color Bois de Rose, and it's 75% superwash merino, 15% cashmere, and 10% nylon. You get a lot in this skein. It's 474 yards per 100 grams. Their Cashmerino base is so soft and luxurious for being a superwash. It's just, I love it so much, and I'll kind of share how this yarn came to be in my possession. But the mohair that I'm using is their Soyo base. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but it is 64% kid mohair and 30% silk. You get a lot in this as well, 459 yards per 50 grams, and it's in the same colorway, Bois de Rose. Their mohair is also extremely soft. It's very fuzzy, as you can see. It kind of reminds me of Surrey a little bit, which I love. It's very soft next to skin. It's been a really long time since I've knit anything with mohair. I just haven't felt inspired by mohair at all, but when I saw these 2, I couldn't say no, and I'm really loving this combination together. So yeah, let's get started. If you have a project that you've been wanting to just relax and knit and have someone to knit with, feel free to grab it and join me. So before I get into the pattern and my experience knitting this pattern, I just want to talk about how this even came to be, because I don't know if I've mentioned it on a previous episode, but this year in general has been, or my goal for this year with my knitting is to just be very intentional. I haven't bought yarn in probably like 5 months or so. I have not a big stash of yarn, it's pretty tiny probably, but I have plenty of yarn to knit with, and it bothers me that it just sits there, so I'm really trying to knit through that. And not only that, but I have sweaters that I've made in the past, like in my first year or so of knitting, that maybe just don't fit right, or they have mistakes in them, and my goal is to go through and rip back and just mend things and repurpose the yarn. So I really had no intention of buying new yarn, but I ended up at the yarn store last weekend. My closest local yarn store is this place called Yarnia. It's in Montclair, New Jersey, and they are a lovely little local business, and I absolutely love their store. So they have a pretty decent selection of yarn and a very nice display of La Bien Aimee yarn. So yeah, I had originally gone to the yarn store because I was buying some yarn to gift a baby knit to someone. I have a friend who is having a gender reveal, and I wanted to knit something in a neutral color to gift for the gender reveal, so that's why I had gone. But after I picked up the yarn that I was choosing for the baby, I of course was wandering around looking at the yarn, and I specifically was over by the La Bien Aimee display because my other project that I'm knitting on is a pair of socks that I'm knitting with the Cashmerino base, and I've previously never knit with this base, but I'm enjoying this yarn so much with my socks that I just wanted to see what else they had and peruse a little bit. So yeah, I ended up at the Cashmerino display and I saw this beautiful pink color, and there's just something about spring that I don't think it's exclusive to me by any means, but I just am craving those soft colors. I wouldn't say necessarily pastel, I just crave more color in general, and it happens to be just more softer tones. And for some reason pink, I've grown very fond of the color pink. Like in my wedding in May, the bridesmaids colors is this color called Rosette. It's like a rosy pink color. I frequently have pink on my nails. Pink is not something that I am drawn to typically, but there's just something about it where I like it in little pops of color, or if I see like a vision with pink, I really like it. So yeah, I saw this rose pink color in the Cashmerino display, and there was a corresponding mohair to it, and I had to have it. I said, you know, it's been months since I've bought any yarn, and I think I'm ready to buy some yarn. It was definitely very impulsive. This yarn is not cheap. I've knit with La Bien Aimee before, and I have some mixed experiences with some of the bases, but like I said, I have really been enjoying knitting with the Cashmerino base, so I knew that I was going to enjoy it, and yeah, I ended up buying it and walking out of the store feeling so inspired by the yarn that I had just bought. So I knew that I wanted to cast it on that day. I didn't have a project in mind, which is very opposite of how I normally roll with my knitting. I like to have projects in mind before I buy the yarn to avoid overbuying and just getting yarn that I'm never going to use and that will sit there, which has unfortunately happened. So I tried to just have a project for all of my yarn. But again, this was impulsive and spontaneous. I just knew I wanted to cast on a project today with this yarn. So I had them cake up 2 of the hanks at the yarn store so that I could start today. And I got to Ravelry as soon as I got home and started looking up patterns. Now, I had only bought 4 skeins. Again, you know, this base does come with a lot of yardage. I think I have about, just math off the top of my head, maybe like 900 yards of each approximately. So yeah, I didn't really want to knit a sweater, but I figured maybe I could get a cardigan out of this. So I just did like a Ravel research with this weight of yarn. It's a fingering with a lace weight yarn held together, so it's like a sport or light DK weight. And I just started looking up patterns. So one that caught my eye was the Maggie cardigan by Petite Knit. I saw that and I was like, okay, that's kind of like the idea that I'm going for, like a cardigan, but I like that it's short sleeve, so it's appropriate for the springtime and for the warmer days. But there was just something about the Maggie cardigan, I didn't want to knit that, so I just kept looking. This yarn to me gives like very delicate and precious, so I was considering maybe doing like a lace pattern. I think I had stumbled across the Felix cardigan, I want to say, maybe. That has kind of like a lacy raglan, so I was interested in that, but ultimately I stumbled across this pattern called the Amber cardigan, and I went to go buy it and I realized it was only available in a book, so I was a little upset. But so I was like, okay, let me just keep looking for patterns. I couldn't find any that were inspiring me and motivating me like this one. So I ended up just buying the book. This pattern is only available in Lane magazine issue 24. And so yeah, I ended up buying a PDF version of the book. It actually has just released recently in the last 2 weeks. So these are brand new patterns. I've never knit a pattern from a book before. Or at least a garment. I've attempted socks from one of my books, but it ended up not working out. So yeah, this is really the first garment that I have knit from a book. I'm just switching to the wrong side now and doing a purl row. So yes, I purchased the book and I immediately cast it on, and within the first 3 days I had completed the yoke. What had inspired me so much about this pattern was the gauge that it was knit at, the material that was used, and the way that it was styled in the pattern photos. In the photos, the model is wearing it with a pair of cargo pants, but the garment itself, I feel like, can be worn with a more elevated look, or more casual and dressed down in a sense. So I liked the versatility of it. I loved just like the soft, delicate nature of this pattern. I thought it would go perfect with the yarn that I had chosen. And I loved the double knit button band with this, and also the details in the sleeves. I thought that was so unique and just added something different. The sleeves on this have like a really unique slip stitch pattern. I don't know the exact name of it. The pattern doesn't name what it's called, but it's just like a series of slip stitches and knitting and purling. And I just thought that was super unique and added something fun, which I think kind of adds to the nature of being able to wear this with a bunch of different looks. So the gauge for this, it's a little bit bigger of a gauge. Nothing that is gapey or anything. I think it's just big enough to where it adds a really nice drape. I'm using 4.5mm needles, which is what the pattern calls for, and the intended gauge is 20 stitches by 28 rows. I think my gauge is not correct. I did not do a gauge swatch, which I've been trying to do with all of my projects, but I was just too excited and I cast it on and I just chose size 2. And I knew that I want this to fit more tight to my body. I don't want like a ton of positive ease. A little bit is fine, but you know, specifically around like the arms, I don't want them to be super drapey and baggy. So I ended up choosing the size 2, and so far so good. I think whatever my gauge is, it's looking good. So yeah, I'm really excited. It's not see-through at all. The mohair kind of fills in all the little gaps. I guess if I really press into it, you could see, but if my hand is just behind it, you really can't see through it. So it's just knit at a lovely gauge, and yeah, I knew that this was the pattern that I needed to have. Luckily, the book, the Lane Magazine Volume 24, has a lot of other patterns that are really beautiful and suitable for the springtime. I can definitely see myself knitting more. There's a really lovely sweater, a couple really lovely sweaters in the magazine that all kind of play into like spring and summer appropriate knitwear. I really am not a big like t-shirt knitter, so having something like this that is kind of in the middle of the road is really, really nice. Sorry if you can hear some noises. There are some kids playing out in the hallway in the apartment building that I live in. So yeah, that is how my amber cardigan has come to be. This spring I'm just really feeling inspired by color. So I am happy to have something that's going to be in my wardrobe that is reminiscent of my desire for colors this spring. I think I'll end this here, but let me show you where we're at. And yeah, I just really adore this. I picture wearing this with a pair of linen pants. I have a pair of white LL Bean kind of jeans, or they're like a cream color. I could envision that with those. I could see me wearing this with a dress or a skirt this spring and summer. So yeah, thank you for knitting and chatting with me. I hope that this time has been relaxing and intentional and productive on what you are working on too. Let me know in the comments what you're feeling inspired by this spring and what you're working on. I would love to know. And yeah, if you are interested in keeping up with my content, feel free to subscribe and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!